Okay, Larry Russell.
Yes, sir.
Finally got you on. Now, everybody knows me. World renowned. I'm Eric with Success Over Stress. But today I brought Larry Russell Jr. with us to talk a little bit about real estate. And man, that's my path to financial freedom. It's real estate. And as much as I love real estate, as much as energy and effort as I put in real estate, I haven't done a whole lot of podcasts on it. So this is the first, and this is the first video podcast that I'm doing as well. But so this is the first podcast that going to bring to you about kind of a deep dive or maybe a superficial dive into real estate. So one of my good friends, Larry Russell, met him at a local RIA event in Burlington.
RIA. Yep.
Yeah. And so since then we kind of hooked up, and I think he's probably brought more value to me than I brought to him, but he's got a wealth of knowledge. He's done a lot in multiple different areas of real estate investing. So who better to bring to you than my mentor, Larry. All right. So Larry, first I'm gonna just ask you to kind of tell everybody, and also remember, like I said, typically we do the podcast audio, but this one also be video. But keep in mind too that a lot of the folks they'll be listening in as opposed to seeing the video. So please tell everybody who you are and what you're about.
Just like you, I guess, real estate investment, trying to get that financial freedom, trying to, I guess, have something on the side to where I can separate myself from what J over B, just over broke, as some people call it, right?
There you go.
So I mean, that was it. Like you said, met you at the Triad RIA meeting. Seemed like the most focused guy in the room that day. So I'm like, I got to see what the heck this guy's about, right? Your laptop, come in there, look like out to work, I guess, with your pants on or your
scrubs.
Yeah. There you go, your scrubs.
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, this guy got himself together over there, right? So, and then just like you said, we connected. I would like to think, if anything, I added some theoretical value, and you added the application as far as helping me, because you've always been my go-to guy, like how to do this, or you come over and help me out when I'm in a pinch, because some of these contractors or whoever just ain't coming through. And you've helped me on numerous occasions. And the last time I tried to at least show my appreciation in other means, right? So meaning with the floor. So if you don't talk about, with the flooring. So So beyond that, man, that's pretty much it.
But what's your what's your background though? Because I mean, real estate. Everybody wants to get into real estate. It's one of the main movers of wealth in the country. Real estate and stocks, and we've kind of started talking about stocks. Right. And so we'll go into that another time. But but real estate, like I say, a little bit of everybody wants to get into it, and then a little bit of everybody has horror stories about it. So depending on who you talk to, they'll say, hey, it's a great way to make money, a great way to have passive income. And then other folks will say, hey, you don't want to be fixing toilets, and it's not worth the effort. For me, I found that it is worth the effort, and I think probably you likewise. But how is it that real estate makes sense for you?
But to me, I always equated to, since I'm an engineer by education, right? And I got friends who have started some technical businesses, and sometimes I think about Bill Gates and all. Let me have to have a certain technical know-how, but I think with real estate, anybody can do it. I think one of my favorite books got the quote, which is The Millionaire, a Real Estate Investor, says, anybody can do it, but not everyone will, right? So real estate is the type of thing that I think, like I said, anybody can do it, but it just takes that commitment and dedication to do it. And it is the one, I think, investment where if you got a job and good credit, you can leverage, because I'm more of a leverage type guy, right? So I always like to tell people, I don't have any cash, but I got good credit, right? So I've been able to leverage my credit to buy houses, right? So everything I've done pretty much was leverage. So
Yeah.
that's what got me where I am.
And the dynamics of our relationship is, I mean, you and I know it well. But that's like when we first met, especially, I'm the cash guy, right? So I'm the one who, kind of comes in, tries to find properties that don't cost a lot, put the sweat equity in, and get it cash. And I was afraid of leveraging. I understood the power of having credit, power of having good credit, but I didn't understand what you can do with the credit. I really didn't understand that. I mean, like I said, you're always taught, it's beat into your head, have good credit. And I'm like, I've got good credit, I've got great credit, but I never used it, and I think that's one of the pieces of the puzzle that you put into my business, is that the power of leveraging, the power of being able to grow your business through OPP, or OPM, other people's problems.
Yeah.
But
I was gonna think of another P, but
yeah. So other people's money, right? So talk to me about how leveraging for you has allowed you to really get into real estate, or just what the power of leveraging means for you in real estate.
Yeah, well, to me, I guess that if we want to say fame, my claim to fame, if I had any fame, would be that leveraged credit. Because when I started out, I guess my wife probably wasn't working at the time when I started, and if she was, all our resources was just tied up into the house and raising a family. And I guess shortly thereafter, she probably did stop working. So by having access to credit, I was able to use credit lines to buy my first property, right? So, my history, I've done a little wholesale and flipping, but I think my first property was a flip. And then after that, I bought a rental property, and everything I did was always with leverage. So the first flip I did, I used hard money, but then I used a credit line to actually rehab the property. Because back then, I guess hard money lenders would give you money just to buy the property and not hem you up with the funds to rehab it. Mm-hmm. Because I got some I shouldn't call them horror stories, but stories where hard money lenders made you put the money in escrow where they controlled your money, right? So, but my first hard money user, I just bought the house, and then I used my credit lines to fix up the property and then flip it, and then paid them back and paid myself back. So.
Okay, so and like I said, kind of this is real estate investing intro 101. So you used a couple terms there. Certainly use hard money lender, hard money. So just give everybody an idea of what hard money lender, what is hard money?
Yeah, the classic
soft
question,
money,
right? That's right.
Yeah.
Define the term. So
right.
I guess hard money, like I said, they call it hard because the interest rates are high, right? So I think when I borrowed that money some years ago, it was 12%, right? So 12% interest only payments. And of course, they have probably like a 3% origination fee, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why they call it hard, because not only do they hit you over the head with the origination fee, because I think my first flip was a $75,000 purchase, right? So 3% of 75,000, whatever that is, that's in their pocket. Then you're paying the interest, the monthly interest payments on it, right? So, and that's the good thing about it. You know what you're getting by paying interest only, because when they want to make it easy to sell, they just pay off the loan, right? Mm-hmm. So, and then they take whatever prorated interest when you pay it off. So,
well, tell me, if you don't mind, where you stand with calculations, making sure that you can get in the property and that you're actually going to be profitable. Because once again, when you talk about hard money, when you talk about origination fees, when you're talking about interest rate, all that's money, and all that's money that's going out the door, right? And I think that's probably what initially turned me off of using leverage, right? Is the fees involved. Later, I've learned, right, that the fees are involved because, once again, it allows you to grow, it allows you to get in the door. And if you make the right calculations, if you plan it right, then that's not that big a deal. But
So
how
I
do you
think
look at
what you're saying. So I think flipping to me is the easiest. And of course, flipping is when you buy a rough stated property, fix it up, and then resell it right on a retail market, right? So I think that is the easiest when you are using hard money, because if you do all the calculations, meaning know all your expenses, and you put it in your spreadsheet if you want to track it. So if you buy a house for 75, like the one that I did, I think my rehab cost when I first went, let's say $18,000, right? So that plus the 3%, I mean, I don't have no calculator in front of me to start adding all this stuff up. But at the end of the day, when you sell it, the retail price minus the realtor commissions, you want the leftover scratch to be more than what you put in. Now, I will admit, my first flip, I might have made $4,000 or something on it, right? And I might have broke even, who knows, right? But I think the key is I didn't lose. And to me, it's like education, because my first flip, I think I went to a seminar or something, and it might have been, I think I went to the seminar in January. I think I had bought that rental prop, not the rental prop, the flip. Might have been in the summer, it might have been in March. It was one of those where after I went and read some books or whatever, it was like, it's time just to jump in. So I just jumped in, and this was a property that I bought off the MLS at the time. And I think the owner was trying to sell it for maybe 10,000 more than what, but he was frustrated and was ready to sell. So I called him at a good place. And when I bought it, fixed it up and sold it, I think it sold probably within a week. I think I sold that one for like 130, right? Nice. So and that was that one. And that one was a big challenge. And I think some repairs end up being a little more than what you expect, right? But that's why you hopefully set aside 5% or 15% or whatever as a contingency.
Right. Okay. All right. Let's see. What have I got next for you? I want you to tell me about how lucrative is real estate investing. And you don't have to give me your financials, but idealistically, what are folks looking for in real estate investing? Maybe that they're not looking for in their 401k, right? Because you can put your money in your 401k and you can get a return there too. So why turn to real estate investing? Well,
real estate is of course more risky, but what they say, the bigger the risk, the bigger the reward, right? So I think if someone does not get blindsided by not calculating all their expenses, right, and sticking to a budget, then it can be lucrative. Of course, the market can shift, and it has on folks when they're trying to flip a property, but then you have to convert it to a rental property if your expenses or whatever hadn't been too high. So when it's time to sell it, or you have so much in it that if you can't sell it, you can convert it to a rental property to kind of hold off, right? If you want to try to play the appreciation game, if you will. I mean, there's several things you can do to, I think, offset the losses, right? Because of course, the longer you hold it, if you do some depreciation, there's some tax benefits, right? That I don't really calculate. They're like the bonus, if you will. And then if you got appreciation, if you hold it long enough, that if the market appreciates. So there's several ways to win, I think, with real estate. And of course, it's generational too, right? I mean, you determine your own, exit point, if you will, right? Because if you get a good handle on the market, if it don't turn on you too bad, I think you could sell it and you can make a profit or break even, for that matter. But there's always some expenses where hopefully you will get the tax benefit.
Okay. So, now the market now is a little bit bananas, right? So, and by that, guys, I'm saying that the price of houses, the value of houses has gone up considerably. So in a market like the way it is now, because I was talking to one of my other buddies, and he's in the mindset now to go ahead and break. Actually, a few buddies are in the mindset to break into real estate, right? But now, obviously, there's multiple avenues of real estate that you can go into. But as far as trying to get a property at the right price in order to rent it out for a rental, what's your take on the current status of the market in terms of Should you buy? Should you hold? Should you be looking for flips? Should you be getting your finances right? What should you do in 2021, the way the market is now?
So, in my opinion, first I'd like to say my little quote: "Everybody and their grandma, right, is a real estate investor these days, or at least want to be."
Right.
But based on my point of view, I think right now flipping and wholesaling would be the way to go, right? Because the rental market, if you truly do the analysis, like we always talk about, I think that when you take into account the property taxes, insurance, and then the price of a house, is no way that you're going to be able to cash flow in this market if you take into account maintenance, property management fee, capex, vacancy rate. I just can't see it. And especially if you're financing, right? If you're financing a property, there's no way you're making money. I don't care what nobody says. I have to see it now. If you can cut out the middleman, if you will, meaning a wholesaler, and you buy it directly from the seller, and as the house is so distressed that they can give it to you for a good deal, then maybe. But houses that we were buying for $20,000 are now selling for $65,000, and they still need the same amount of work, if not more. And again, there's no way these people are cash flowing. They're losing.
Right. And you said a lot there, and all of it's very important. I do want to pick out of there. You talk about CapEx, and like I said, for folks who may not know what CapEx is, capital expenditures. And yeah, guys, I mean, if you buy a set of sneakers, you're eventually going to have to clean them every now and then, right? So same thing with a house. If you get a house, it may be in turnkey condition right now, but down the road, it's going to need a roof, or a branch is going to fall on it, or the plumbing is going to burst. It's going to have issues with maintenance and overall upgrades that are going to need to be done. So, well,
I can give you an example for that right now. One of the houses I bought in 2019, in place tenant. I probably spent no more than $1,000 on a house to fix it up a little bit by putting some vinyl siding or something around the laundry room that they had. I think we trimmed some bushes, just cosmetic stuff, right? Just to touch it. Shoot, this month alone, the plumbing went out, meaning I had to spend some money on the plumbing. Air conditioning went out, right? So I'm spending about $5,000 to put a new heat pump in there, right? Wow. So that's that CapEx expense. So I'm talking roughly $6,000 that on a property I haven't had no more than 2 years. Let's say it's 2 years this month. I think I bought that one in April. So let's say it's I bought it in April of 2018. So a little over 2 years, I'm already replacing air conditioning. And I rode by there today, and it's going to need a new roof in a few years. So, but I paid $20,000 for that property, let's say. So that's not that bad. But that same house today would be for sale for somebody for probably $60,000 or so, and that's too much.
Right.
So they wouldn't be making no money off that thing. So.
Right. Well, and speaking of having your property, and like you said, making sure that you do what's needed to it. Doing what's needed to it is really important, guys, because really doing what's needed to it allows you to protect your investment. If you don't put a roof on it when it needs a roof, then you got water infiltration, you got wood rot, you got possible termites, you got floor sagging. I mean, everything goes downhill when you don't keep up the property. And there's plenty of people who will buy properties and milk them for what they're worth and not put money into them, not maintain them, not do CapEx, none of that. And then the house falls apart, and either they already got all their money out of it, so then they just let it sit on the neighborhood block and they let it rot away, or then they try to sell it to an investor who can handle the amount of work that needs to be done to repair it. And then they can let it go for a little of nothing because, like I said, they literally milked it for what it was worth and didn't put anything into it. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. And getting properties. And if you want it to maintain, what's the saying? With the goose and the golden eggs, Yeah. So I mean, you can get the golden eggs, but if you take care of that goose, then that goose is going to keep laying golden eggs for you. You can just take them golden eggs and you can run, but we want to take care of the goose. So that's that's a big nugget right there. And that goes back to conversations that you and I have a lot of the time, is like you say, if you're not accounting for vacancy, CapEx, maintenance, taxes, insurance, if you're not accounting for all those things when you put when you do your analysis on your property, then either you're not going to make money or you're not going to be doing one of these things, and your business will fall apart. So go into it, like you say, if everybody and their grandma is doing it, then you're doing them a service by helping make sure that they are doing the calculations and the analysis right. And then a lot of them say, you know what, maybe it's not that it's not worth it for me, or maybe they get into it.
Yeah, like I said, I think by real estate being the new frontier, everybody's just jumping in, and some people are not looking at all the aspects of it, I guess, right? Because even when I first jumped in, I mean, I was doing some reading, but I guess I wasn't reading the right stuff to take into account property management fee. Well, that one was the easy one, right? Because if you never let somebody manage it, but then the maintenance, CapEx, vacancy rate, all those things. I know my first rental property, I didn't do that. I just looked at, okay, if the mortgage is this and I can rent it for that, then I'm cash flowing, right?
Right.
Which we all know there's some other factors in there that need to be taken into account, right?
Right.
So.
Well, and that's one of my things. I'm still the landlord / property manager, if you will, and I learned a few years back when I got to, I don't know, property number 4 or something like that. You definitely need to account for because during my analysis, I wouldn't include property management. I wouldn't include that 8-10%, because I was taking care of it. But then it was between you and also reading said, well, you still need to account for that, because as you grow and as you scale, it's not that big a deal to manage 1 property, 4 properties, but 10, 15, 20, however many, that gets a lot harder. So when you get to that point, either now you're going to have a full-time job, or you're going to shift that workload to a professional property manager, and you'll be glad that part of your analysis was incorporating the cost of that fee.
No, I agree with you. Even just to say it a little differently, even if you wanted to manage it and do everything, like you said, for the life of it, but let's say one day you change your mind, at least you factored it in where you can afford it. Because the one guy, like we said, I helped before, and I was talking to him, I told him about all these parameters, but he bought a house and he didn't factor that in because he said, I'm gonna manage it. Then he was thinking about not managing it anymore. I'm like, well, did you put that in? No. So of course his cash flows goes down significantly, right?
Yep.
Because he didn't account for that, right?
Yep. So. Yeah, and literally, man, and this is the life, guys, of a real estate investor. Well, for me anyway. Literally, when we got on the podcast, I get a text message, and it's one of the tenants, and it's actually a call. They calling me about something, and I've been dealing with them for the last couple of weeks and trying to train them and make sure that they're putting their requests in the proper portal, but they're not doing it, and they want to do it their way. But it's like when you go to Walmart, like you got to go through this line to check out. Like, this is the order, this is the way it's got to be done. And so you can fudge it around some, but at some point you kind of got to treat it like a business, right? So it's it can be a long road, but it can be a very fulfilling road too.
Yeah, and I agree with what you're saying there. I mean, with training them, lucky for me, I'm not training any of them right now, but I can see in that scenario, you take your call and you say, okay, I hear you, but submit the order.
That's it.
Through the process that I told you, and then I can look at it, right? Yeah. So I hear you, but I'm not going to be able to look at it until you submit it in the proper way.
Right.
And they will. So,
Right.
but you don't take the call and then you start completing the task. And it's like, why do I got to go through your system if you're going to allow me to scapegoat it, right?
Exactly. And I think that's one of the things that you and I over the past couple of years have really been talking about is systems, systematizing things, and that makes things automatic, and that systemization allows you to work on something else, right? Because when that's automatic, then you have the energy, you have the resources to work on something else. But if you're constantly, especially if you don't have a system, we'll talk about stocks later. Because I have a system, but I don't use it. So, but well, but the real estate stuff though, I love my systems here. Talk to me really quickly about your system, about the, and like I said, for me, when I started off, like a one-man show, doing everything, taxes, working on the houses, putting the floors down, doing this, doing that. I've learned that having a team is very important. That's part of that system. How do you organize? What's the structure of your business that allows you to be able to say, okay, this is this portfolio, this is a business that has met some success?
So I would say for me, unlike you who are hands-on, which I admire more than anything, but I'm pro property manager, right? So I have a property manager to manage my tenants, which release a lot of burden off me, because me, I still work a full-time job and I commute to work when I was going to work, that is, right? So now I work from home. But
right.
Man, just having a property manager take them calls and deal with it, just like even today, we got an issue with, again, that the plumbing issues and the HVAC. So I'm talking to the property manager to basically deal with those issues.
Mm-hmm.
And for the same property, like everything's going on with that property. The bushes were grown and out of whack. So I had one of their employees go there and trim the trees and the bushes today. And I rode by to check to make sure it was all done. So it's kind of nice when you have a resource that you can call on, right? Because they have contacts. And sometimes if I don't have anybody, I ask them if they can refer somebody or whatnot. So that has been my saving grace. I think having a good property management team that you can work with, and if you trust them to get the job done. So I'm real happy with my property management team, and they also a realtor. So if I have a property that I need, or if I need comps or whatever, I can make that call and they'll give me comps, right? Because I'm feeding them enough money monthly.
Right.
With the property management fees and everything else. So
LLC.
Yep.
You got an LLC?
LLC. Yeah, of course.
That important to you, or is it?
It is. So we never said the name of my business. So of course it's Russell Kingdom Investments, right?
There you go.
So,
but you don't just have the one though, right?
Well, I have two, right?
Yeah.
So mine are broken up into a long-term, where all my rental properties under one business, and then all my wholesales and flips will be under another, to separate the long-term from the short-term, because they're taxed differently, right? So I don't want to mix up my short-term with the long-term. Now, even though I have bought a property with the intent of maybe keeping it a rental, then I realized it's a good flip, and then I flipped it within the rental business, which I'm trying not to do that anymore, right? So
I still wish you would have kept Dogwood, man.
Yeah, you and me both. So and I wish I would have kept. Now I think about it, I wish I'd have kept all my flips, right?
Yeah. But I mean,
made good rental property. So
but so Dogwood was a property that Larry got. It was what was it? It's like a hoarder house or something like that.
Yeah, it was hoarder. Now that one was 100% leverage. So I used a credit line. I used credit cards. I financed it that way without going through a hard money lender, which saved me a significant amount of cash. So,
but that one also was that area was really even before you finished that area, they were already starting to break ground, like right down the road with new new developments and stuff. And now, they've got a lot of those developments up. They put up a 7-Eleven. Have you looked to see how much that house is worth now?
I try not to do those kind of things.
Okay, yeah, I know.
Now, I will say this, though. I started to make the comment earlier. My first flip, I sold it for, I think, 131. Yeah. They have it on the market. The people I sold it to for 131, they're selling it for, I think, 188 now.
Wow.
So we're talking $50,000 more.
Yeah.
And I think that one I flipped in 2014, right?
Yeah.
So what's that, 6-7 years?
Yeah.
And you're talking about an increase in over $50,000.
Right.
That they're trying to sell it for.
But what would you do with it, right? I mean, because what are you going to do? You're going to, now that the market's hot, you're going to cash out? Maybe not. But what would you do with it? Would you take a loan against it, or no? I mean, if you were to still have it, I mean, as it goes up in equity, that helps your net worth and everything like that. But
yeah, but you got to remember, if you put a loan on it, now your payments have increased. So you got to look to see if the new amount is offset by the cash that you're pulling out, or whatever. Right? Is it going to kill your cash flow? And if so, you got to calculate. Okay, let's just say if I'm breaking even, but that cash that you pull out, of course, that's not taxable. So it's just a lot of things you have to look at the numbers to see what makes you happy. Because once you pull that money out, you have increased the loan on it, which is going to increase your monthly payments.
Right. But in the grand scheme, and that's how I looked at the loan that I took out last year, one of the refinances that I did. I wasn't looking at it just based on that one property, which it still does okay based on that one property, but I looked at it against my entire portfolio. This new payment that I have of $326, being able to take that $30,000-$40,000 that I can then buy, a $70,000 house with. I mean, this little bit allows me to do this much. So even though it may, kind of balance out that one property, now I've got two property, it's definitely a big picture play.
So believe it or not, I used to think like that a lot, right? But now I'm more, I'll pull that cash out and I'll just sit it in my escrow account for like we talked about these contingencies and all this stuff. Yeah. I think now as properties get older, that CapEx is going to be a major thing. And man, I would sit, if I pulled out 40 today, I'm probably going to sit half of it in the escrow account and just have it as my fall back on money if something happens. That's just the way I'm thinking now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, where I'm at now, I mean, you and I have talked about it. I mean, multiple properties in, I like to get maybe one more, but I'm not trying to get a bunch more. I'm just working on getting some of these loans from last year paid down and paid off, and taking care of the properties that I have now, so that next year I can recline on a beach.
Well, I mean, that's the one thing I've changed my philosophy, right? I used to want to have about 40 or 50 leverage properties, yes, sir. But then I was reading something, they said, well, the more properties you have, the more you got to take care of. And I started thinking about that thing, right? So, I mean, if I could accomplish the same goal by maybe a smaller number, pay them off, or have that payment such that I'm still cash flowing the amount that I need, then I'm going to be okay, right? And supplement some additional income in another way to, I guess, diversify, if you will.
Yeah.
So my real estate, how should I say? I don't want to say it's maybe dying down, the excitement. Maybe it's because the market is like it is, or just trying to diversify. Because every time I talk like this, but like my ongoing renovation, I mean, I get excited. I still go there and walk around and look and just kind of like, okay, this is what I need to do. So, I still love it, right? And I still think it's the new frontier to make anybody wealthy. I think the electrician who came over to my house today to do some work on my primary, he was talking about he met an investor, because I told him I'm a real estate investor, and he said he met a guy who does investment. He's a millionaire, right? From doing different things. He has some commercial properties and so different type of properties, right? And I think with real estate, it is easy to become a millionaire on paper. Now, cash flow $1 million is a little different than being a millionaire on paper. But,
I've talked to some people before, real estate investors, like, yeah, man, I've got 40 properties and stuff. And you get to talking to them, and they are in co-ownership with a bunch of other investors, you know, with 40 properties. Like I was talking to one guy, you know, he's into stocks, and he bought some shares of a company, and he was like, yeah, I bought a company such and such. You bought a company, man? You bought 50 shares is what you did. You didn't buy the company, you know. Right. So you know, people put themselves on the pedestal sometimes, and that's okay, but you know, are you happy with what you're doing, you know? And at the end of the day, if you look down the road and you say, I've done what I set out to, or I actually put in the effort, then that's it, man.
Yeah, and I think that's key too. Is like, don't judge your page one by somebody's 100.
There you go.
And I used to be somewhat competitive with you, right? And I was like, man, this guy got this many properties of this, and I'm sure you vice versa, right?
Yeah, we're doing the same thing. Yeah,
it's like, you know, your properties are yours, your opportunity, and mine are mine. Right. At the end of the day, they're all trying to get us to a common goal.
Yeah.
And respecting each other as real estate investors to watch and learn, if you will, and don't be grandiose. I think that's the good thing about you and I. We're not grandiose. Sometimes I think I'm too friendly by sharing with people what I do. It's like, why hide it?
Right.
You know, some people want to hide it. I think it's all about growth and sharing, right? So.
And I know that's one thing that we did, especially early on. We're both proud of our, like you say, our systems, our approaches, our spreadsheets. So, you know, we shared our spreadsheets, our kind of knowledge base and that kind of thing. And then one of the things I'll make sure that I'll kind of put a plug in for you. Like I said, you started up the mastermind, and it's for me, it's the mastermind, you know, with Bob and Elliot and Doss. I mean, it's those guys. It's the mastermind that really like catapulted me to the next level. You know, so like I said, I got a lot of value out of that, and I'm thankful for the relationship that we have. That you know, it's like you said, it's a good spirit. It's a good kind of piggyback back and forth. Like you said, and honestly, for me, like I said, I'm maybe one or two more properties, man. I might like to get an apartment or something, like a little small fourplex or something like that. But you know me, man. I'm tight with money, so I don't need to, you know, I don't need to get multi-million-dollar properties or nothing like that. So.
Yeah, I'm with you. Was it your phone ringing?
No, that's my technology. We archaic over here, man. We got old speaker systems that they get a little bit of static interference. They go crazy.
I mean, and I will agree with you on the real estate front. That, I mean, I would love to buy more houses, but I mean, this is supposed to be a pro real estate. I just say that you have to manage your funds and be.
Right.
This is just keeping it real, and I think that's the problem. People don't keep it real enough, right?
Right.
Everybody wants to make everything seem like it's so grandiose, this and that, and you can be a millionaire in a week and all that stuff, right?
With no stress, right? With no overhead, right?
I mean, it's going to take you some money. You can hustle, you can do it without some money per se, or somebody else's money. But I mean, I think I heard it from Brandon Turner, and I always kind of tweak it a little bit. It's three things, right? Either you got hustle, knowledge, or money, right? In that triangle. And it's always going to require two of them. If you don't have no money, you better have some hustle and some knowledge. Right. And if you don't have no knowledge, you better have the money to pay somebody who has the knowledge. And then you still got hustle is always in there because you got to work. Right. Unless you then convince somebody to work for you, but then you got to pay them. So then you got to have some money, right? So, or some experience to say I'm gonna coach you and you're gonna do the work for me. But at the end of the day, it takes some money, and I think or access to cash or credit, right? And that has been my claim to fame again. So if you have that and you leverage it right, because I've had one credit line since 2008, same credit line, just renew it, just keep it going.
There you go.
So,
well, man, I appreciate you coming on. I wish I had done a better job about keeping up with what we talked about, because I'm gonna have to have you back so we can talk about some of the other stuff, go a little bit deeper into, like I said, some of the actual analysis, maybe ARV, just dig a little bit deeper, interest rates and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, I got to be prepared for you on that, because
yeah,
you be making me sweat. So,
no, man, no. I feel like it's been long enough that I hadn't really been doing a lot of this stuff that I'm like, man, have I forgotten some of it? But then it just comes right back to you. But then, some of the simpler things, like, like we talk about when you, get a Lowe's account, get a Home Depot account, when you're getting appliance. If you're going to have like one or two properties, then go bananas, right? Get you all kinds of different fixtures for every property. But if you're going to have multiple properties, try to find you one vanity set, one type of fixture, keep a couple in supply, whatever. But don't make it complicated, systemize it. Don't make it complicated. I think that's kind of the takeaway. Like I said, if you want to have success without stress. All right. Well, this is Eric, and that's been Larry. I'm out.
Yep. I appreciate the interview, and I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Enjoyed it.
We'll get you back next time, man.
Yes, sir.
All right,
brother. Yeah.
Peace.
Thanks.